Guess I'm murdering now. You go murdering again.
Hi, everybody. Hope you're having a good day. I'm having a weird day. Uh, it's been a little bit wacky. I didn't see this day go by. It's been ridiculous. So I'm glad it's time to stream because that means it's time to cool it. It's time to chill. It's time to see you guys, and it's time to start stabbing some fabric. Um, yeah, so let's get to it. Today I'm continuing on. We're still working on this rooftop. We're gonna get that rooftop done today, and see how much of this centerpiece we can continue working on. There we go. Hey Anna, how are you? I just saw your post on Insta a little while ago um, about your symptoms coming back and everything. How are you feeling? Ugh, that's and so do you think it was just the antihistamine or do you think it's really um how should I say well, no, second wave isn't right. Um, oh, that's terrifying. I received some news this week that is not encouraging. Yeah, yeah. I'm really, really glad that you're not suffering like you were a couple of months ago, but still, um, my husband was told, he told me the story at the beginning of the week, that, you know, I don't know which school it was, and I if I did know, I wouldn't say, for obvious reasons, but there was a school that they had their first meetings, and without students, it was just teachers. Two of the teachers got sick. And so, you know how they've been saying, oh, yeah, you know, if there's a case, we'll act very quickly, and everybody's right. And that was here, where I live. Not his school, I should say, but a school. This is through the grapevine, directors talking, etc. So, okay, not to panic, because we're told, oh, you know, if an outbreak happens in a school, we're going to act very quickly, everybody's going to be tested, blah, blah, blah. So the meeting was on a Monday. They both go in to see their doctor. The doctor says, yeah, you've probably got it. And they're like, great, let's get tested. Or no, they didn't know they were sick until the end of the week. Well, I'm going to tell you why, right? They go on a Friday to see their doctor. Doctor says yes. And the patient says, yes, I need to be tested. And the doctor said, oh, well, they don't test on weekends. You'll have to wait till next week. That's so France, right? And then, so that, yeah, you'll go to take the test next week, and then it will take 3 to 7 days to get the results. So now we're, by that point, 2 weeks out from the point where they have been infected, and they're not going to test the families. They don't have enough tests. So everything that they've said that they're going to do is complete and utter BS. I'm so disgusted. I'm so completely disgusted. But we're not in confinement anymore. But it's so blatant. It's so ridiculous. Not happy. Sorry, excuse me, I gotta get my stuff. It's just... And we don't live in a dumb country bumpkin place, you know? I mean... I'm just... I am displeased. I am displeased. And in the same breath, I love my husband. I do. But even he's like, we can't stay home anymore. We need to get back out. We need to get people, and if they get sick, they get sick, and da-da-da-da-da. And I'm like, I don't need to get sick. I'm just kind of, and they're talking about school's going to go back on in June and blah, 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 blah. I know. you know, people want to get back to the status quo as quickly as they can. I really just, there's no, there's no kind of, hey, you guys, let's figure out how we can change our, what are steps that we can take for a better place, and the after is going to be the before. It's depressing. And I didn't want to go into great detail about that, is that we're racing to get back to how we were before. And it's upsetting. And yeah. I didn't mean to talk about that today, but I know that we're on the same page for that, so. Everything like, yeah, I know. And it's scary. It's scary. So, I'm going back next week. I have, yeah, let's do that so we can do that privately. And not, you can send it through Insta if you want. Yeah. Um, 'Cause yeah, we don't have to make all that public. So yeah. And I don't want to go on and on about it. That's not, yeah, for real, yeah. Um, and of course, uh, teachers in France don't have the right to criticize the government. They can lose their jobs over it. So I just want to say that I am not criticizing the government for the decisions that they're making. I don't want my husband to lose his job. Y'all be nice. I'm certainly not criticizing Education Nationale. Whew. Anyway. Oh, this day, I feel like I hit the ground running today. It was crazy. I'm really grateful for this time that I can just kind of chill out in front of the in front of my embroidery and just stab some fabric for a while. Nobody in particular. Just stab, stab, stab. So, what are you working on these days, Ms. Anna? Oop. Got away from me there. Hoping to knit. Mm-hmm. Absolutely. It's very interesting to live in a country where criticizing people can have very negative consequences, I should say. Especially being an American. Is that new? I guess it must be new. I wonder if people know that. Oh, I should have known that. I was here for that. For sure. Wouldn't want anybody to think that we don't fully support the current government. I talk good. Oh no, did I forget my scissors? I think I forgot my scissors. Hold it. Oh no. I wonder if my son has any scissors in here. Probably not. Alright. Ooh! No. No, I'm gonna go grab my scissors. I'll be right back. Excuse me, just one moment. Scissors. And one of you. So yeah, I was really hoping to finish. I started crocheting last night a little project bag to hold all the yarns for this project and get it finished. I still have a couple of rows to do. I was hoping to show it to you today, but it's not quite ready. But I'll be ready for tomorrow. Oh, here it is. I knew I had it. Well, I usually do. Well, I should say I usually don't. I only measure my thread, well, when I'm working on kits, models for kits, so I know how much thread to go into each kit. Otherwise, I don't really bother with it, but this, I'm not envisioning doing as a kit. It's just way too big. But, I'm still curious to know how much yarn I'm going to use. In case yeah, it is, it's huge. It's like 5 projects, or my usual size, anyway. No, it's not quite that much. I do get, wholesale pricing, I should say. So, wholesale wise, Oh, actually, I now that I say that, it probably is. Yeah. Um, if yeah, for these for the if I had bought every skein brand new, some of them I already had, but yeah, it probably is. So yeah, I don't think I'm gonna be able to sell it, but well, I mean, sell it in a kit. I may eventually put the finished product up for sale if I don't keep it. I don't know. I haven't decided yet. We'll have to see. I'm certainly, whatever happens, going to keep it and admire it for a good long while. Because this is the biggest project I've ever done, or biggest original project I've ever done, I should say. Yeah, I guess I could do that. Yeah, that's probably the best thing to do is to sell. And I actually was chatting with somebody yesterday. Oh, I had a really nice person come in to the chat yesterday who is an SCA person in Michigan. And so we talked a lot about the medievalist community in France and in America and what's different and what's the same. And she gave me some really nice marketing ideas and stuff, which is really really cool because it's always nice to have somebody. As I was saying, I'm so bad at promoting myself. I'm horrible at it. I'm the worst salesperson. I really struggle with it. So she really gave me some good marketing ideas, which was really really nice. Um, and we did talk about. I did say that I've been thinking about putting the patterns online as just like a PDF, which could be interesting as well, and especially for people that want to start, when you want to start a project, but you want to start it right now, like right that second. Do you get that? I know. I will when I get that itchy feeling. Oh yeah. I when I get that itchy feeling in my fingers that I just need to be starting a project, and I will go through Ravelry. I will pull out the yarn that I want to work with from my stash, and I will trawl through Ravelry until I find something that I like. And very often I do that. It's 2 hours later. I finally find a project, and it's time to go do something else, like, I don't know, cook a meal or go to sleep or. But man, when it grips you, it grips you. I need to be making something right now. Oh man, that's. Hey, I mean, if that is what calms down my addiction trigger, I'm cool with it. I'm very, very cool with it. I was very, very much addicted to cigarettes, which sounds kind of weird. But knowing how long it took me to quit and my physical reaction to quitting, I'm very, very grateful not to have become addicted to anything else life threatening. Because that stuff is real. Well, I mean, I think, for example, the when we're talking about physical, I mean, there's always been alcoholism going back as far as you can, see, as far back as history goes. So I don't know if it's that exactly. And I don't know. I'm not an expert. We might be talking about compulsive behavior instead of addictive behavior. Um, but it's a interesting question, yeah. I I've always kind of wondered. You know, we had that stereotype, certainly in America, of like 50s in the 1950s of housewives being, quasi alcoholics, and because they're bored, because they not socially acceptable to go out to work unless you really needed to, and um, so many advancements in technology meant that they weren't slaving all the day, especially when their kids were at school, so they were bored, and so they started drinking. And um, I wonder why. I guess crafting at that time was considered old fashioned, or. Oh, yes, ma'am. Actually, speaking of not living through that time, yeah, that's what I was going to say, is that crafting is what you did out of necessity and not out of pleasure. Yeah. My grandmother actually worked. No, my father's mother. At one point, she was working two jobs because she was the only breadwinner of the house, and so she didn't have time. She actually told me that she never got a chance to learn to knit because she was working right off the gate, raising with her kids and everything. So, um, but I know that my mom, on the other hand, grew up learning how to sew and how to crochet and made her own clothes. And I don't know if you could call my mom necessarily poor, but her parents certainly um, went through the Depression. My mom was born in 1945, so um, she was definitely a crafty person. And I guess lower middle class or middle class. I don't know. They lived in a little house in Levittown in New York on Long Island. Um, so it's funny. Yeah, it's ironic that I do all this now. She never saw me. She passed away before she knew I could knit in all this mess. Isn't that so funny? I find I hope something that does come, and I do think it's starting to swing the other way, is the idea that you have to go to university in America. Like, that wasn't even an option for me. My parents of course, I was doing everything I could to please my parents. That's just the way I was. But, I was very, very lucky that we were in the 80s, very financially, we were pretty good. I guess we would have been considered upper middle class. Um, my parents paid for 100% of my college education. I had no debt when I moved to France. I or when I graduated from college, actually. I'm very, very lucky, and my sister was the same. Now, my parents declared bankruptcy after my sister, almost immediately after my sister graduated, but that was their plan, was to make sure that we were. Yeah, well, I mean, it was the late 80s, and, well, no, it was the 90s, the early 90s by that point, so it was that big, nasty mess going on. And my dad tried to start a business, and it didn't take off. It failed. So he bet all on the business, and yeah, he bet everything on the business, and unfortunately, it didn't work out. And so, I mean, they were okay. They were protected. They did everything right. My dad did eventually find another job, and they had to downsize, and that was hard for them. But my dad grew up dirt poor, and so he never got to that place again. But um, yeah, uh, yeah. So my mom, well, I guess my mom, I get in the 60s and 70s, I think, is when crafting kind of started coming back. That it was cool for women to be able to make their own clothes. Um, as my mom was coming up in the 60s and she was in her, um, yeah, in the late 20s, her late 20s, early 30s, she went through the 70s. So um, she was way into making stuff, and she was really good. She was a very good seamstress. I was not. And yeah, I was not a very good crafty person when I was young. And I really, really struggled with it. So my mom would be really surprised if she knew what I was doing today. Like the minute I figured out knitting, and I figured it was easy for me. I think I just didn't. My mom and I kind of clashed. We just had very strong personalities, and that didn't mesh together really well, unfortunately. And um, I'm left-handed, and that made it difficult for me to learn crochet, and I got frustrated very quickly. And I just said, well, it's not for me. And then I learned that it was for me. Very strange. Um, but I wanted to go back. No, they were not great for being left-handed. Um, yeah, it was, yeah. And I never knew, I was always the only left-handed person in my class in school, and like one more reason for me to feel like a weirdo, right? My parents, because I was the only left-handed person in my immediate family, although there's loads and loads of left-handed people in my extended family, my parents always kind of made me feel special about it. It was something that made me different, and so that was something to be celebrated. Um, so that was good. That's a good thing. And I did play sports, and that was never a problem in sports. I think my dad was a little bit disappointed when they did find left-hand golf clubs for me. I think they were like in a garage sale or something, so it wasn't like they didn't buy really, really good clubs. And I ended up not getting into golfing, and I think my dad was a little disappointed because they were really hard to find. Um, but yeah. Being left-handed growing up stinks. Stinks in a big way. And I can't imagine it's a whole lot better today. Not as bad as, I mean, my grandmother had it beat out of her. So, I didn't have it that bad. I wasn't punished for being left-handed, thank goodness. Although I understand, yeah, it's only a little better now. I mean, I do, as far as that goes, finding things, accessibility, yeah, it's easier to find left-handed scissors, which, people don't think about. But hey, listen, I learned computing in the 80s. We were early adapters. And because I was the only left-handed person, I mean, I could have changed it to the left side of the computer every time, but it was such a pain. And since I was the only one in the family, it just made sense for me to learn right-handed. And I don't do very well with a mouse in my left hand. But that's just about the only thing that I don't do left-handed. I have a difficult time thinking of other things. Um, there's a left-handed subreddit called Southpaws, and and people do say that they were forced to change as a child even today, and I'm talking about young people are saying that they were forced to change, and I find that shocking. I that today that people are still having that experience. Yeah. Young people in their 20s and 30s. I can't understand why. I don't know. It's really superstitious. There are literally no reasons not to be left-handed. Um, if you were born left-handed, they do say that there's like a 2% chance that left-handed people die a little bit younger, but I mean, we're talking like 1 or 2 years younger, so it's not even worth, it's not something that's, it's like eye color. It's not something that changes your life every day. It might, yeah, social stressors. Yeah, it might be that. But changing from, yeah, but changing, yeah, maybe that is it. If you physically change to become a right-handed person, maybe are those social stresses gone? Or are you prone to be less habile? Are you less coordinated if you're supposed to be left-handed but you learn to be right-handed? Less at ease in yourself too. I would think so. I would think so. I think it's really funny that my husband is left-handed, so both of us are left-handed. And my dream was to have a left-handed child. And I was very disappointed. Not in my son, obviously. It's not something you can control, but my son is right-handed. And I kept trying to put the pencil in his left hand. I'd never forced him. But if I, was putting a pencil in his hand, I would put it in his left hand. And he always would change it to the right. And I was, well, okay, well, I tried. Just for my hair color, people trying to get it socially acceptable. Oh, yeah. Yeah. I hear you. And in fact, that's why I ended up going back and dyeing my hair again, because I was feeling that pressure to be my age and have all this white hair. I was walking with my son when he was 5 years old, and somebody said, "Oh, are you out for a walk with Grammy today?" And I thought, no, he is not. And I went right back and started dyeing my hair. And I dyed it for another 2 years before I said, no. This is my hair. It's a lot healthier this way. Honestly, it looks good. I'm really proud of it. It's me. So, yeah. I don't understand why people... Thank you. I love my hair too, actually. I am proud of it, but I've been working really hard to keep it nice also, I have to say, because the water is in... I know you don't live in Paris, but in where you are, is the water hard or soft? Because here it's so hard. And it took me years and years and years and years to learn how to use it. Yeah, yeah, then you know. I know in Paris it's lovely, but it is not if you're not in Paris. I don't know why they don't treat it outside of Paris. It's so stupid. Yeah, I hear you. Well, mine's wavy, but it's not wavy anymore. It just isn't. That's the way it is, I guess. Let me work. Yeah, okay. Sorry, I was just trying to figure out what color this tile was supposed to be. Yeah. Oh, but I wanted to go back to something that you said before. Ironically, because this is something that I just learned about last week and I'm interested to learn more about. And you said that you were glad that we weren't living in the 1950s. And again, fully agree. But there was actually something I learned about the medieval period that is not something I know very much about, and I would like to learn more. And that is about the beguine. The beguine, or beguine or beguine. I don't think it's an accent on the first E. The beguine, it is not a dance. The beguine, and I think a beguine lived in a beguinage, I think. This was kind of, it was nunnery adjacent. And it started, I think, in the 12th century in modern Belgium. I don't remember if it was in Brussels or not, but in modern Belgium. This is kind of a phenomenon that only happened in modern day Netherlands, Belgium, northern France, and a little bit in England, I think. So it started, a priest started a community for women who were widows of Templars. Now, that whole sentence shocked me because, first of all, I thought Templars were celibate, and apparently they were not. Or maybe they could become a Templar after they were married. I don't know. I haven't done enough research into this yet. So, yeah, so I need to, maybe I'm saying the wrong thing, but yeah, so don't take any of this as gospel quite yet. I'm still kind of learning about it, but so they started these communities for women where the women were not required to take orders. But eventually what that turned out to, and this is something that only, well, in great numbers, it kind of fell out during the 100 Years' War, which is basically over. Then you know, yeah. That's very interesting to know that in your ancestry. How very interesting. I love those stories when you go digging into your ancestry. So anyway, these beguines, and apparently a beguine it may have started as kind of an insult, as a woman who is not married and doesn't want to be, or isn't fit for marriage or something like that. These communities started accepting women of all social classes. You didn't have to necessarily have to pay your way in, as long as you could work and support yourself in this community. They did have religious services, but you were not required to take orders to be a member. And you had to work, you had to support. Hey! Hi, Plain and Practical, how are you? It did. I was just telling my friend Anna, and I don't know if you've done any reading about this, but I'm talking about the beguines, who were in the 12th through 14th centuries, were women's communities, but women's communities where women didn't have to take orders. They accepted women from... I dyed boxes yesterday. Ooh. Oh, that's going to be amazing. I didn't get a chance to look at your website yesterday, but I absolutely am going to do it today. Beguine, Beguines, and I am using the French pronunciation, so that may not be how it's said in English. So they lived in communities, but it started off in modern day Belgium for widows of Templars. eventually grew to accept women of every social class. You didn't have to buy your way in. As long as you were able to work and support yourself in the community. So it became. Okay. I will wait until next week to see your website, but I did write it down. Um, so, um, it mostly lasted a couple of hundred years. So for women who didn't want to get married, but also didn't want to become a nun, could become a beguine. And there were communities in modern day Belgium and Netherlands and in northern France, and apparently there were a couple of communities in England as well. It mostly fell out of favor during the Hundred Years' War, which was, of course, a lot of that was religious and tightening up especially for the Catholic Church. They were kind of tightening up what was allowed to be done in the name of religion. But that being said, the reason that I just read about it is because the last beguine just passed away. Well, just passed away. It was like 10 years ago. But in Brussels, the last community, the last official beguine community, was still rolling until the last one passed away. Until the last one went to a nursing home and passed away in 2000s. But it's a new, I had not heard of this, and I'm really interested in learning more about them. Over the centuries, but eventually the outside world comes and takes either people or product or property, and it crashes. Oh, so true. Oh, so true. There's always somebody that's got to come in and mess it all up. People do sometimes ask me, do you want to go back to the Middle Ages? And of course, I always give an emphatic no. Some of the communal groups in Tennessee, and as well in Israel, and one in Germany for older people. Yeah. I am also kind of fascinated by it. Yeah. I I am both curious and repulsed by them. I don't think I would be happy. I'm far too I don't like to I don't take orders well, I guess. I don't know. That's not true. I do take orders well. But I don't know. There's just something about having to follow the group as a whole, which is necessary, and that kind of I'm not saying it's bad, but there's that necessary for the greater good situation. Oh, they do exist in France. That's very interesting. Move you in. I'll make a call. Yeah. I mean, don't get me wrong. I love the idea of, being able to have a smaller home and just having what I need and doing art and teaching others and growing food. And the fantasy is gorgeous, but the actual day-to-day living of it and not having modern amenities. Mouth ain't working today. I also like the internet. As long as you cover transport, you can stay a year, and the Israel ones don't have to be Jewish. Yeah, it's called a kibbutz, I think. I think I'm saying that right. Yeah. And I'm a precious little flower. I don't think I'd be very good at that. a delicate little flower. But at the same time, I mean, gosh, I'd love to get out of this system we're in right now. I guess what I'd be afraid of is what if you go and you throw your lot in and then you realize you don't like these people and you kind of feel stuck there. Although I suppose you can visit and try it out when you start. Sure, of course you can. Hey, as long as we're forwarding the conversation, I really don't mind links. It's cool for me. Oh, it is kibbutz. Haha. Yeah. I mean, when was the last time you had a job that you just really loved every single person and you didn't have any social problems? No. Ooh. Oh, that's very cool. Uh, I guess like anything, you can get used to, you know, I certainly live without air conditioning now. Oh, this is paid, but well, it is a course and you are learning how to. I guess this is something, these are kind of things that you learn and then you take it back to wherever it is that you come from and try and implement the same thing. Yeah. That's the biggest one, set up to allow internships, sabbaticals, education time for writing your dissertation. That's really cool. Ugh. Imagine if you were a student in an international agriculture program. Oh, yeah, or wanted to learn another language. Man, yeah. I know people, I follow somebody who lives in Vermont who she and her family are living off grid. And not because they have any kind of uh anti-government or anything like that. It's just that they're not hippies and they're not commune. It's not a commune. It's just they have 20 acres in Vermont. They built their own home. They're trying to be as self-sustaining as they can. Oh, in America, it's horrible. I It's terrible to say it as an American. I really hate it. I hear you. I love academia, but not what it's becoming now. Oh, it's really complicated now. But I'm embarrassed to say that I'm increasingly glad that I we chose to raise our son in not America. for no other reason than, you know, guns and such. But the idea of sending my son to college in America, God, we could never afford it. And I'm hearing from friends now that universities are having problems because of COVID, and absolutely shocked that a university in South Carolina is talking about canceling men's football. No, not men's football. You can be sure it's not football that they're canceling. Men's baseball. And they're furloughing employees, etc., etc. Shocking, shocking, shocking. Upsetting, upsetting, upsetting. Yes. I The last writing up I got before I moved away from my adjunct job was because a professor wrote a book we had to use. Oh, God, yes. We used exactly 1.5 pages of it. I printed it off for my coffee and saved them all $20. I'm surprised it was only $20 because I've heard stories of teachers writing books and charging $100 or $200 for a book. And, ugh. I don't understand why at that point, why are the students not... I don't understand why students can't go to a library and check out. Why do you have to own the book when you're in university? Yes, I agree that you should be able to have access to it. I know you need to do your work, and not everybody's going to do the work at the same time. Why are there not copies available in the library? Good for you. You're one of the good ones. I just... Man. Whinge, whinge, whinge. It's very upsetting. And hey, Anna, what? That is so true. About, yeah. Great strides have been made in algebra. Like, okay, I get maybe you want to update references for working out problems. Maybe the problems or the wording in problems is outdated. Okay, cool. I can see that. But that's a generational change. It's not something that needs to be changed every years, for heaven's sake. Floopy floop. Oh yeah, Anna, like what we were saying before about talking about what were we talking about? Oh yeah, middle class and upper class and classy class and all the classes and stuff. Social class. I find myself, I'm shocking myself by saying to my son things like, if you decide to go to university. And I think if my parents heard that, their brains would explode. But I don't want to force him to get a degree if it's not something he's going to use. And if he's in charge of his life, not me. And, we're not quite there yet. He's only 11. But I have always used that, and I think that shocked my husband too. Because he went to university as well. That is so true. Oh, to pay for your education. Yeah, that is true. Unfortunately, in France, that is not the case. Yeah, and this is something that I really beat my head against the wall when I moved here, and I'm very, very stubborn. I am super, super stubborn when it comes to this. In France, the experience you have doesn't mean anything if you don't have the correct diploma. Um, I have a Bachelor of Arts. My Bachelor of Arts was I majored in musical theater. I ended up not pursuing musical theater. I was going to. I was going to be a teacher. That was the original plan, but the plan didn't work out. I had started doing. I needed a break from school. I started working as a. Oh yes. Well, you now you have another one. um, See, that's exactly how I feel about it as well. I wish that I had gone to um, art school, or I wish my dream now is that I wanted to learn bookbinding. And I wish I could have apprenticed for a bookbinder. And that's what I would do if I could go back in time. I can't go back in time. That's cool. I'm doing other stuff now, and that's fine. But, so, I spent most of all of my 20s working as like a secretary, admin assistant, etc., etc. I did all of that. I have 7 years experience, over 7 years experience in different um, administrative positions. So my plan when I got married to my French husband and moved to France was, wow, I'm going to continue that. I could not even get an interview being being bilingual and everything. Impossible to get a job here because I don't have um, that specific diploma. I don't have a secretary diploma or an administrative assistant. And I just kept beating my head up against the wall for ages and ages. Until I just finally realized, until basically it was too late to go back to school and get my diploma to do anything else. So now we're making it up. I'm making it up as I go along. I've been doing Sweela Field for 7 years now. And I teach English. Like every other Anglophone in France that doesn't have a diploma. But you know what? I'm a damn good teacher. Here endeth the lesson. Now I gotta catch up with what you guys are saying, because if I stop every time and read what you guys are saying, I don't even finish my thoughts. So I know. Do you know? I swear to God, I wanted to apply for a job as a secretary for a garage. Okay, they were asking somebody that had some kind of garage diploma. And I'm like, are you serious? There's a garage secretary diploma? Are you kidding me? But it's so detailed. Every single diploma is so um every single thing has its own diploma practically here. And if you don't have the diploma, they're not even looking at your resume. It is insane. And even when I say that to people, when I talk about it with people, they're like, "Oh yeah, that makes sense. Why do we do that?" Hell if I know. Not that I'm criticizing another country's cultural stuff, that's not fair either. But from the outsider's perspective, it sure does stink sometimes. But I think when I was younger, um, I mean, I had drunk the Kool-Aid as well, and I knew I wanted to go to university. I knew I had to go to college. I didn't know that I had any kind of talent when it came to working with my hands. Anything I tried, either I gave up too quickly or I was doing the wrong kind of work. So, um, I mean, I was definitely on board that train, the university train. So, if you didn't, I mean, if you in the 90s, if you didn't go to university, you were a big fat loser. The end. And I um regret that now, both for myself and for my friends in school that didn't go to university, that were made to feel less than because they were doing honest work. Oh, wow. I think that one of the problems from what you were saying, Anna, about morally supporting businesses is that where can you go where you can? Where, if you could, have a different job, or if you could do your job for a company that you support and believe in, would you start one yourself? Do you think you could find what you're looking for here? Not that I'm saying it doesn't exist in France. I do think that there are people that, oh, really? You have been looking at the eco villages. Oh, that's interesting. Buy a campground, have a historical village, do retreats. Have theme workshops. Bring in teachers for long weekends of fiber arts. Oh, yes. I'll come back for the States for that. No, maybe I won't. No offense. No, I think I better stay here. But there are, what there is here in France is that I've seen. We went on vacation in the middle of France, south of France. Well, it wasn't the south. It was in the Aveyron, which is where the volcanoes are. Hope I'm remembering correctly. Um, and there also happen to be a lot of Templar villages down there. And of course they have a lot of tourism, etc., etc. And there was an artist's village in one of these medieval fortified towns. And I would have picked up all my stuff and moved into that village immediately if I could. I don't know what the situation is, like if you rent from the city or if you have to apply. I don't know all the details. It's really far away. We're not going there now. But that is my dream, is to work in that kind of a community where I can do the stuff that I love and I can still do the medieval-y stuff and live in it and do it all the time. That's oh yeah, like 3-4 stone houses. Yeah. Come for a couple of days early and paint and mow. You can reduce your class by. See, now you're thinking, because I think a lot of people who are super motivated, I think that's amazing. People that are super motivated that would want to participate in something like that, but just don't have the financial means to do it. So clever. I know that in the Ardennes, which is a little bit further east of me, there's a medieval village kind of attraction being built. it's maybe an hour away from me. I don't know how much they're building and how much they're restoring. I don't know all the information about it. Unfortunately, it's a little bit far away from me now. But my personal dream is to have one of those little mini villages or move into an artist's village and do this. And do this. And do this some more. But with more people. We'll make a medieval eco village. Huh? Ah, my dream. You have to get those good merino sheep. Goats. You know, I'm not going to say you're wrong. But the only time that I've seen France produced wool, it's been very not nice. No, that's not true. It's not nice, but it's not, man, it's not merino. It's a little rough. Sheep is more money for vet visits. Possibly true. Are they from France? Well, then that's okay. Because I know, and I honestly, I don't know enough about it. I'm very willing to learn. But I know that, for example, Andy from Renaissance Dyeing gets her merino from England. And I don't know if it's just because she has a relationship with a breeder there, or... I did think of rabbits too, and Angora are supposed to be really good pets and also good for the Angora, yeah. Oh. I would have a really difficult time killing for food though, because they're so cute. It's because people here don't know how to spin it. Really? It is true. And I know even the hemp that I use is sent, even though hemp has been, I think, for as long as I've lived in France. When I moved here 15 years ago, hemp was like coming back. People are always thinking that my yarn is from better quality wool. No, I just don't overspin it into a knotty wire. Yeah. That's interesting. Because it's certainly all machine woven here, at least in these quantities. Most of the people who dye in Europe are getting their yarns, as far as I know, at least the bigger companies. Even the smaller producers, the ones that are dyers, are getting their yarn already spun. They rarely get roving. Mm-hmm. Well, it's the same thing that's happened in where I come from in the Carolinas. It's exactly the same story with all the textile mills closing and everything, and starting to get it all. It's all being made in China and blah blah blah, and so many people went out of work, and that the working poor and et cetera, et cetera. It's the same problem here. We just need to start bringing it back. And that's why it's so important to support small businesses that are trying to bring it back. Um, Things made locally are expensive, but they're good quality and they support our neighbors. And that's my soapbox for today. Vintage tablecloths I find in thrift stores. I wanted to say this yesterday, plain and practical. When I made my dresses, I bought old linen sheets. And some of them were cotton, but but some of them are linen too. So yeah. We can get linen pretty cheap here if you know where to look. Relatively speaking, when I say cheap, it's not like it's not like cotton cheap, but it's cheap. It's reasonable, I should say. Yeah. So 15 years ago, hemp was coming back. See, I'm doing it again. I'm getting distracted by you guys talking, which is good. Keep talking, but so hemp started coming back 15 years ago, but there still aren't any big textile mills that are spinning it and making this. And the company that I buy my hemp from, which is called naturellementchanvre.com, naturellementchanvre.com. They're very, very, very good. They sell clothes, they sell fabric like this. Yeah, Laine de Vosges is very good. Ooh. Mm-hmm. For sure. Um, but I know that there was a company that was trying to get some weaving going in France, but as far as I know, all of the fabric that I get from Naturellement Chanvre, the hemp is grown in France, but it's woven outside of France. It's in Europe, but it's still outside of France because there just isn't a company with a mill that's set up. No, it's not mill, a loom that's set up for it. Oh God. We have here in Reims anyway. Twice a year there's a traveling fabric. What's the word, Anna? It's not a salon. It would be like a exposition, an expo, like a fabric expo. And they do one in the winter and one in the summer, and they're mostly Flemish, Dutch, and the prices that they have are ridiculous. And I know people, there are lines coming out of the expo center for linen, for wool, for all, and cotton for doing quilting, and the prices are so good. And I think it's because in the Netherlands, and I guess they're still doing crazy textile. I don't know enough about it to know, but man, there are so many people I know that sew, that wait every 6 months. They just buy everything. They just buy in bulk everything that they're going to need. Anna, did you hear about the company that was making masks in France, and like it was, and then there was an industrial weaver that everybody was hopeful that just went into that just closed, I think. That just closed their doors. It was already not doing well. They were hoping to get it open and get the people back to work. Um, to make masks, and it didn't happen, I guess. Mm-hmm. So all the fabric that we get for our fabric expo comes from up there. Egyptian cotton. Ugh. Wow, neat. Yeah, and so everybody was all excited because they were going to be able to open back up and start making masks again. And somebody explain that to me. Oh, I missed one. I'll have to remember to go back. That's what I get for talking out of my butt. And other places. Well, we wouldn't want to spread any rumors now, would we? I I I genuinely don't understand that. Like how much have people been begging for stuff made in France? Now, don't get me wrong. I see this all the time. I make a big deal when I'm doing my markets about how my stuff is made in Reims and made in France and everything is local and blah blah blah. And then people go, it's so expensive. And I say, I every single time I want to say, yes, it was not made by a 12-year-old in China. These are the prices for things that are made in France. And people want, and we say it all the time. Yeah, don't put yourself in any um we say it all the time that people want things made in France, but they want them in the prices made in China, and you cannot have it both ways. You absolutely cannot have it both ways. And it's the same for America as well. And I hate it, but that's the truth. Things didn't get made in China because the quality is better, or uh, because we like Chinese people so much. We don't dislike Chinese people, but you know what I mean. You know what's up. Oh no. Oh, Anna. Funny you should say that, plain and practical. We know all about that. Oh, Anna. That stinks. As soon as someone has a good idea and starts developing, yeah. Well, yeah, they should have asked us. Excuse me. I do this every time I start a new thread. I go pulling the thread out and I hit the, the arm of my camera thingy here. Tripod. Again, I talk real good. I so desperately want that to be true. Have you guys seen the videos of the young Chinese woman. My laundry baskets. I told myself I'm never buying another crappy imported laundry basket as long as I live. That one I can tell because it's in the press. If you're interested, it touches on so much. Oh, yeah, go for it. Oh, Lord. I mean, yeah. I just found out today that my last medieval festival that I was waiting to hear from for the end of August has been canceled. Ugh. Yes, and I'm listening to you now. Makers and industrial interests, which, ugh. The government requisitioned medical masks at the start of March from pharmacies. Yes, I remember that. So they took all the masks from the ones that were in the pharmacies to give them to health workers because there were not enough in the hospitals. I do remember that. However, a few of them were actually distributed to hospitals. Well, where did they go? And then, plain and practical, my mom, if I was a kid and I was like, Baby Yoda, and she would have probably made me a crochet one, and I would have been like, no, I wouldn't have been like, but I would have wanted to be like, this isn't the real thing. I don't want it. It's stupid. I totally would have thought that really hard, even if I didn't say it. Oh, we find out where they went in May. So still in March. Still in March, healthcare workers requested the government requisition industrial masks. Mask makers in France. Yes. Mm-hmm. Okay. Okay. I totally support that. They can't get mad at somebody for sharing their patterns for free. Ha ha ha. Ha ha ha. Perfect. Good for them. Masks again. The government refused to requisition local industrials. Yeah, I remember this, and I don't never understood why. It just makes no sense. Because you think, oh, great, perfect opportunity to bring work back to France, which is how it should be. We, in healthcare, I'm in touch through patient advocacy, heard from makers that they had even offered their services to the government. But since they weren't part of their inner circle, they were refused. Well. Well. But then it gets really twisted. Because it wasn't twisted enough? That's awful, plain and practical. And because then the states are stuck in the middle. Are you supporting this cronyism? Or do you just suck it up and get the masks anyway? They'll only buy their crap from distributors and not take locally made stuff. Yes, I've had that problem as well. Not naming any names. Certain museums in Reims. Yeah. Gotta get that 400% markup. Word. I've definitely had that problem. The national government incentivized collectivité to get volunteers to sew masks. Right. But we did not know that the collectivités were being sponsored by the government. Yeah, we just all thought that it was like all government, not government stuff, all volunteer stuff. Well, just like the cities were just saying, hey, let's get our people to do it or whatever. My words are starting to fail me. If you have a historical village, you should be selling stuff made. Yes. Isn't that kind of the point of having the... Oh, no, I guess it isn't. It depends on who starts the historical village, I think. If you're doing it just for the cash grab. Ugh. The collectivities called on existing volunteer networks and basically co-opted them. Mm-hmm. And all this time, hospitals weren't getting medical masks. I'm tutting. Tut, 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 tut. I have nurse friends who had 1 to 2 masks for 12-hour shift. Jesus. It gets worse. It is surreal. It is surreal. Right, so volunteers are sewing hundreds of thousands of masks. Literally, these are actual counts. And the machines start breaking. No kidding. Personal machines, on quarantine, so no way to replace or repair them, and of course, at their individual cost. Oh, God. Plain and practical. Seriously, My sister lives in North Carolina. She works 2 essential jobs. I'm freaking out all the time for her. Not because I worry about her not following what people are supposed to be doing, but everybody else. See, I think, honestly, I think the exact same thing is going to happen here. Everybody's all gung ho about getting France back up and running and get schools going. And I don't like it. I don't like it at all. As soon as volunteer sewers started to wake up from what was going on, bam, the government comes out with a standard and says you can't trust homemade fabric masks. Mm-hmm. Yeah, she knows. Oh, believe me, my friend Anna knows what's up. So yeah, then guess what? Innovative industrials who've never made masks before, side eye, start producing government-sponsored masks. I bought masks yesterday, and I think they were made in China. Just saying. I don't quote me on that, but I think I remember seeing a bunch of Chinese writing on it. I am so grateful, Anna, that you have the contacts that you have in the medical community, though. Yeah. It's such a flippin' joke over there. I really, I weep for my country. So, roundabouts, when friends with the government started making masks, the government decides to reopen. Oh, of course, I get it. I'm following you, which means that everybody needs masks. Haha. And then, oh, how about that? Supermarkets come out saying they have roundabouts 500 million masks on stock. Oh, what a coinky dink. Yep, I'm following you. Remember those requisition? Oh, no. So the requisitioned pharmacy masks are the ones that are being sold in the grocery stores right now? That's why my masks were made in China. Oh. My God. Uh-huh. Do you want to know how much I paid for 50 masks yesterday? I paid $29.90. Oh, I got a cheap box apparently. But yeah. In the workshop and gave them and a spare of new safety gauze to the postman. Oh, you're so good. And what we find out yesterday in the press, we found out these collectivities weren't getting their refund from the government. Amazing how that works. Yeah. We only found out about the government sponsorship because the collectivity didn't get their free money. Funny how that happens. That's terrifying. Yep. Yes, indeed. The worst part about that, Anna, is that medical professionals aren't getting their salary bonuses either. Medical professionals, ugh. I was going to say should be in the streets, but the thing is the medical professionals in France were in the streets before COVID broke out. Because the situation is so dire. Yeah. I knew that we said that Anna, especially Anna, because Anna's been with me since the beginning, since I started streaming, but we weren't going to be talking about this stuff on stream. But I'm really glad to have somebody to talk to about it, because I don't have some people in real life to talk to about it. It does feel good to kind of bitch and moan a bit. I mean, I do have people online. I don't... it's different when you can actually talk, use your voice, and complain. It feels good. So... But we're not supposed to. That's absolutely terrifying, plain and practical. That stuff is just disappearing. That's crazy. Yeah, I absolutely agree with you, Anna. I think one thing that is good is that we do have some really good investigative reporting happening in France, which is which is good, which is a good thing. Well, thanks so much for coming in and kvetching with us. Plain and practical. We're not going to talk about this the rest of the week. Today was COVID bitching day. Let's talk about more other stuff. Have a good one. Oh boy. I know it's exhausting, but it does feel good to just be able to go, ugh, this bullshit. Sorry, it is. Why can't everybody think like me? It does. It's a little cathartic. Also, it's confirmation bias. It helps to know that you're not the only one absolutely disgusted with it. Hey, I'm going to finish this roof today. That's good. I I I have so many. I have questions. I don't understand how. I know that some of it is that we're outside the U.S. and we get a different perspective of it. Talking real good still. How? Yeah. Well, yeah, that's true, and France gets mentioned when something bad happens, I guess, or something funny, or like there were some bad. There, I do remember hearing what in the beginning, like March, before we went into confinement. Um, I do remember there were some things that happened to French people doing unintelligent things and catching COVID. But I did never heard about it in French media. I only heard it on English media or American media, I should say. So I mean, we're absolutely guilty of it as well here. I remember there was a story about one French dude, or they had asked French people not to leave the country or something like that. Maybe that's what it was. Oh, I think I messed that up. Oh, it's not important. Um, it was something about, yeah, people had been asked not to leave the country, and there was some guy who had actually gone to Bulgaria or something, or somewhere in the east, or Croatia, or I don't know where he went. I don't remember exactly. Guess what? He had COVID, and they put him in jail. They put him in jail and sent him back on the next plane. Get out of our country. But I never heard about that in France. I read it on Reddit, I think. And there were a couple of little stories like that. And then the private plane. You probably heard about this one because I think they did talk about this one in France, but it was the private plane that came from London that landed in Marseille because they were going to. It was, and they even said it was like 4 middle-aged men and 2, yeah, the private plane, and 2 women in their 20s. They were just coming on vacation. No, you are not. Go away. Although they were in Marseille, I don't know what the problem was. They could have just gone to see Professor Raoult. Is all I have to say about that. Ay, ay, ay. Alright. This is navy blue. That's not good. I may need to do this in smaller. Yeah, I think I'm going to do this. Do this in smaller groups. That's a little bit too much. Let's just go out to here. Oops. Oh, good. Well, I'm glad. Anytime you need to vent, Anna, you just come on down. I'm here for it. What are friends for if we can't bitch at each other? I don't know. But she did give me her website yesterday, and I think it's. Let me look. Let me see if I did it right, so I'm not making a betise. Let me see if it's that. Yes, her website, and she told me not to go there yet, but I'm gonna say it anyway because they are beautiful stuff. P as in Peter, PANDP Woods with an S at the end .com, and I will go ahead and write that down in the chat. There is her website. She makes some really gorgeous stuff. But for the moment, she said it's not available to buy. She is updating for next week. So she will be able to sell stuff online starting next week. And she does make some beautiful boxes. Oh, gorgeous. Oh, so nice. I do love wood. My dad loved wood. He, same deal, man. If my dad had been a menuisier or some kind of a woodworker, he would have been so happy. That's what he did in his spare time. He loved it. It made him happy. And his job didn't make him happy. And that's hard. All right, Miss Anna, I am going to stop for today. I did advance a little bit. Most importantly, as we say in French, we were redoing the world today. Well, you're always welcome back whenever you like. I'm pretty sure when the Bayou was being put together itself, it went a lot faster with a lot less chatting, but that's okay. Yeah, on a refait le monde. So yeah, but I'll be here tomorrow. I'm here every day. Thanks again, guys, for coming and checking me out. And have an excellent Wednesday. I'm glad you are feeling cool and relaxed, Anna. Excellent. And you take care too. I'll see you guys tomorrow. Bye.